sake. Okay, finally. Good morning, everybody.
Good morning.
Morning.
Frank, John, how do you feel?
Not great, but I'm better than I have been.
Did you
This
get
is
Paxlovid?
Yes, I did, thank goodness, and that helped. But normally when you get a fever, if you take some Tylenol, it drops it, and this thing didn't. It took 2 days of Paxlovid before my fever went down.
Oh man.
So it's really, I'm feeling better now. Just very tired, and I still got a kind of a persistent cough, but it's not, nearly as big. The best thing I can describe it to is many, many years ago, I had pneumonia and it was for like 2 weeks. That's what it kind of felt like. It's just, you feel very, very tired and you're very congested, and it's like a major upper respiratory tract infection. But fortunately, I think the Paxlovid really helped because, it's been almost a week and I would say I'm back about 70%, which is pretty good.
Yeah, you don't sound too short of breath or anything, and that's good.
Yeah, I didn't have any of that. I have a pulse oximeter and an Apple Watch, and I didn't have any problems with shortness of breath, just being extremely fatigued.
Oh yeah.
You sleep a lot, which is what I plan to do after this meeting.
Good idea. Nothing the matter with that.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. With that, I'm going to go ahead and convene the meeting. I see from the list of participants that we do not have anybody from outside who's on board. Anybody who's watching on live TV, feel free to join our Zoom meeting. You can get that on the Bourne calendar to get the meeting ID and the password. And if you do come in, we're not going to be monitoring any chat. If you want to talk after the members have discussed an item, you can feel free to raise your hand. With that, I note that we have full attendance, and thank you to everybody, including John, who's, as you just heard, is struggling with the leftovers of COVID. So we're going to continue. Hang on a sec. I keep getting. I just booted up again, and my computer has gone through an update, so I'm getting all kinds of extraneous items here. Give me 1 second. Okay, with that, I'm back online again. Again, the first item is review of the minutes of the 15th. Everybody have a chance to look those over? I did not have any comments on those.
Yeah, the only thing I noticed in the attendance, so Bourne Community TV recorded, they were online last week or last meeting.
Mm-hmm.
You have them listed as absent.
Really?
Really?
Yeah.
I don't think
No.
so.
No.
No.
Absent is Anne Marie.
What's it say after Mr. McCarter?
It says BCTV, but it's just a list of people: Dwyer, Frank, Howland, Johnson, Carter, and then BCTV with the participants.
I'm here. I'm running around today, so I have my camera on.
I guess I'm looking at a different one.
No, I may not have included a period after that before the word absent.
Let me show you what I got here. I'm very confused then. Because then there's a colon, Ms. Sarunian, after the word absent. Let me show you what I got here.
Right. And
See right here?
hang on a sec.
There you go.
Yeah, there should be a period after after the BCTV. Sorry about that.
And so who's absent?
Anne Marie.
Civilian.
Me.
Anne Marie. Got it. Understood.
Good pickup.
Okay. The tyranny of punctuation.
I'm usually much better about that. So. Okay.
You're our English police.
Well, nobody's perfect. All right. I'll take care of that before I send it out.
No worries. Okay. Any other comments? Hearing no comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
So moved.
Okay, Wendy moves. Do we hear a second? Anybody second?
Oh, come
I'll
on.
second. Sorry.
Wait.
Okay,
I was on
thank you,
mute.
Jed. Oh, sorry about that. Okay, so we'll do a roll call vote. John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Jed,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and Dwyer. Aye. Okay, so those are approved unanimously. Okay, so the next item on our agenda is Anne Marie, is there any public correspondence at all to deal with?
There is not.
Okay, moving on to item 4, old and ongoing business, the ever popular bead challenge. Brian, can you give a summary of where you think we are right now?
Sure, yeah. So the rebuttals period just closed. Let's see. And yeah, MBI provided none of the answers to any of our questions, so we weren't able to enter any rebuttals due to lack of the necessary information to do so. The damage is probably not horrific, but it's more of a, since it looks like there was only like 8 real challenges of concern. So the damage is, negligible in the long run.
These are rebuttals of concern, just to be clear,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. So there were about 8 challenges. So there were like 6 planned service challenges, but there's no way to rebut that since MBI wouldn't provide what evidence of planned service from one provider, which is a little odd since they had provided the ISPs all the non-public info for who was challenging them. So like to not provide the info to a town, even if it wasn't public, but in private, they were providing other parties private information to be able to rebut a challenge, but they wouldn't provide it to towns. So that was a little bit odd that if impacted town wasn't provided the necessary, it wasn't provided a copy of the challenge so that they could rebut it. It seems a little bit of an information asymmetry, which should have been addressed up front. So that was 6 locations, mostly in Monument Beach. So not really, not really like a huge damage, but like, clear and persistent issue with how MBI rolls out anything. Thankfully, it could have been much more disastrous if like it could have been hundreds or thousands of them and they didn't provide this info. So it was more disappointing than damaging and just a continual pattern of not providing what we need.
Okay.
And then 2 from another provider. One was going to be difficult to rebut under any grounds just due to the nature of it. And both of them were hard. And MBI's best suggestion was call a provider and get them to admit that they can't serve this location. So there wasn't really good options for any of them, and MBI wouldn't provide the answers to anything, so we couldn't really. The rebuttal process was worse than the challenge. Anne Marie, what was your question?
But in this part of the challenge, Brian, was it only specific to rebuttals from the ISPs and from those, like, through this process, right? We had the chance for the speed test and to challenge it. Now it's a period of time where who we challenge in those speed tests have an opportunity to look and make their response or rebuttal. And in that
yes.
next step, doesn't
Sort of.
MBI now have the opportunity? Now it's all this information is MBI hands, and they're going to gather and all of this data and present their findings, and then it becomes public, or not public, but then gets presented on the website and published before it sends off to NTIA.
The answer to all of your
there-
questions is yes, but there's
Okay,
some
so-
nuances.
My question then is, this time period that just closed, the rebuttal period, did we have the ability to challenge anything during this time period? Because you said you were concerned about not receiving information or data. So I'm not sure. I'm a little confused.
You should be
Is-
confused because the process. So when MBI telegraphed the process to all the town leaders like a year ago, 6 months ago, the rebuttal phase was expected to only be ISPs. So all the language was expected to only be ISPs. All the like explanation was only expected to be ISPs. Late June, NTIA released to all states that ISPs could do availability challenges to add locations back to the map. And so this was like an 11th hour change that basically upset the entire process for everybody. And so on no notice, all of a sudden, ISPs were adding places during the challenge process. So then towns were going to have to rebut in the rebuttal. Huge policy mistake in my opinion. You know, when you freeze the maps December 31st, you tell everyone these are the rules, and then at the 11th hour, you completely upend the whole process. So out of nowhere, towns now had to figure out the rebuttal phase because potentially they were going to have to rebut availability challenges made by ISPs. So thankfully, there was only a handful made in our area. So, but this could have been a humongous issue where we had the entire town challenged and no way to do anything about it. So.
Okay.
It is what it is at this point because it's come to a close, and now it goes to the education phase where the challenges and the rebuttals are reviewed. So
I'm sorry, did you say education phase? Or
my English is never going to be at the level of yours, Wendy. So,
but who's getting educated? Did you mean adjudication?
Yes, adjudication. Sorry, my bad.
Thank you. Not a problem. I just want to get it right.
Education,
I do
adjudication.
math and patterns and signals.
Yeah.
Sorry, words are not my my strongest.
That's
my
okay.
strongest
Wiki.
We can help each other out on this stuff.
Put
Yeah.
a spreadsheet in front of him and he's a whiz.
Yeah.
English, not so much.
Well, when I first met Brian, I spent a lot of time saying, what does that mean? Explain that to me because I don't understand that. So now, it's turnabout is fair play. We
This
work
is why
well
we have a
together.
team. We have a team because we have complementary skill sets.
There you go. Yes.
Right. So
Uh,
this period of time is where they gather and collect and summarize
Yeah,
all the
or
information.
they review. So
Right,
what's
it's
happened
review,
is
but they do have to formulate a summary because they have to present something to NTIA.
correct. So they're scrambling for the next, I don't know, month. I got to check the timeline, but they're taking the challenges we put
October. Mhm.
in. And,
October
to keep
25th.
keep the conversation simple and Bourne specific. So basically, our speed challenges, I know were rebutted, which we anticipated given how easy it was to rebut them. We anticipated 100% of that to happen. And so now, the one I haven't checked is if all our CAIs were rebutted. And there's two ways to do it. So I got to check those because those would have probably come in at the 11th hour. MBI apparently had the system crashed, and so they extended the rebuttal window an extra day or something, probably because someone put 10,000 lines in at the same time and it crashed it. So we need to check, who's done what. But now it's out of our hands because MBI has neither corrected their mistakes from the challenge that we requested they fix because they incorrectly denied lots of challenges, and there's nothing we can do at this point. They're at the phase where they're reviewing the challenges and the rebuttals and deciding who's right.
Right, and then is there going to be opportunity? I'm assuming, but probably shouldn't assume, that we will see the summary prior to NTI, prior to its being finalized and reported to NTIA.
That's funny because I asked the same question. I was said
Oh,
I
you
wanted a
did?
copy of the CSV of all challenges just to test if the data integrity, because there was different counts. So I just wanted the master list so that I could, compare it. And we should have access to it. There's no reason, even a draft. There should be no reason why we can't see the draft, or a work in progress, in my opinion. But no, I don't think they're going to let us have it, even if we beg and hound. And I think it's a good idea, and I think it's a great question, and I think it's something that should be continually public as it's done, because it's the right thing to do, and I don't think it's going to happen. So until it
Well, it
goes up
should
to
be published.
NTIA,
It's a state entity. It should be published.
No kidding.
yeah, they publish what we want after it was useful to have it. Is always how it goes. Sorry to be cynical, but I've showed up to every office hours for 4 weeks, and every week they said, these are fantastic questions, we're going to have to discuss it. These are
We'll get
fantastic
back to you.
questions, we'll get back to you. We're still trying to decide what to do because this has other implications. It's like, well, there's only 2 or 3 people on these calls. Like, why aren't you answering what's been asked of you, and making a determination while we can still do something about it? So yeah, I doubt we'll see a list until it goes off to NTIA. I can ask them.
Brian,
I'll ask
Brian,
again
do
if
do you think a FOIA request would do anything, or could they just use the same excuse? We'll do that after it's been verified by NTIA, and you'll be informed in due time.
I already got a rejection because I formally asked for I asked for the list prior to this. I wanted the master challenge list, which would just have BSL IDs, challenge type, and that's it. So it wouldn't have an address because that's copyright, and it wouldn't have PEI because it doesn't have the attachments. So literally just give me the 35,000 challenges, locations, IDs, and the types, and they refusing, and I'd have to appeal that to the state. So I can appeal it, but we keep getting outfoxed because we're not lawyers on this. So if town council wants to appeal that or assist in an appeal, that's an option, because that's where it's at right now.
They'll charge for that, and the select board may not want to pay for that.
Well, the records
Right.
are short, so they wouldn't. MBI wouldn't charge for it. It's the
No,
No, I mean,
town
the
council.
the lawyer.
The town attorney will charge for it.
Yeah,
Right.
like I can appeal it, but we'll lose probably without the skills
Okay.
of a proper lawyer, because it's so nuanced what we're asking for. We probably need a lawyer to appeal it. So yeah, I don't think we're going to get anything till it's sent to NTIA. We can, if we ask right now for the draft list that's going to NTIA, they're going to claim they're not done. So they'll claim an exemption, and they'll stall 3 to 4 weeks, and we won't get it. So I'm not hopeful to be able to answer your question until it goes off to NTIA.
Sigh, as Charlie Brown says. Okay, well, thank you, Brian. Just to recap the next step in the schedule, the challenge period, rebuttal period, I should say, closed Tuesday, the 27th, if I'm not mistaken. And this rumination that's going on inside MBI and the submittal to NTIA, all will take place before, but most likely on the closing of this next period, which is around October 25, 2 months later, approximately. And then after that, this published list will be available for all parties to go submit. There will probably be a request for proposal, if I'm not mistaken, from MBI to all parties to come up with proposals to serve these underserved locations, and then and CAIs. Is that right, Brian?
Yeah, there'll eventually be a phase to claim the money. I'm not familiar with the details since, got to work in order of operations here.
Right. Okay. Well, anyway, we'll be informed of that. We'll get to that about probably at the last minute if we were to have any input to it at all. My guess is there'll be requests for letters of support, et cetera, that'll come in at the last minute from these folks again, and maybe other folks. We know it's going to come in from other folks, we think. Okay, there we have it. Any other comments on the bead challenge process? Okay.
A lot of towns are angry.
Okay.
Universal be angry
trust-
at this.
Well, I trust that this anger isn't going to just evaporate into the ozone here or whatever. I hope that this is going to continue to be pursued by our legislative bodies and reps and senators and whatnot, or is everybody going to just drop it because it's hopeless?
There are a lot of parties that are going to Senator Markey, who is, behind the original legislation or this portion of the legislation,
Yes.
complaining about how bad the implementation of this has been, and that's just in Massachusetts.
Mm.
It has gone, from what I have heard, has gone a lot smoother in other locations for a number of different reasons. But
Yes.
yeah, that's way down in the weeds and beyond what we need to really discuss here, I think. Okay, we will stay tuned. Okay, the next item I have on the agenda is the Digital Equity Implementation Plan recommendations. And let me switch to that document. I don't have it up on the screen, but where is it? I have just had it. Boy, I lost the document again. I'm sorry. Can somebody else pull it up on the screen? I'm working with two screens, on the smaller of which is the one that's connected to Zoom.
I think I can do it. Let's see. Okay, let me see if I can do it. Okay. I think that one. Is that it? Jed, is that the right one?
That
I've got it here.
That's the most recent one I have.
Right.
What?
yes.
You're not looking at the digital equity plan. You're looking at our recommendations for.
Right. This is what I thought you wanted.
Yeah.
Is this what you wanted?
Yes. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
Right. This is
Yeah,
the
I had
version that Jed and I worked on.
Mhm.
And we discussed this at the last one, just for a recap very quickly.
Mhm.
This pretty much mirrors the recommendations we had previously made. And this one just refers back into the nuts and bolts inside the actual final document.
Mhm.
And
I believe I put this as an attachment to our last minutes also.
Okay.
The blue text that you see was the actual text that we submitted originally, and the black text is the text that John and I worked on.
There we go.
exactly. Once again, great job for you two guys. And I
Absolutely.
think it's a really nice expansion of it.
Anne Marie's got her hand up.
Yes, Anne Marie, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Hi.
Please.
Yeah, this looks great. Can I add possibly, and at the discretion of the committee, that perhaps we should grab language, the actual language from the digital equity plan and insert it with the recommendation and where we drew these actual recommendations from? I know it creates a little bit larger document, but I think when this is presented to the select board, that it'll go a long way with exactly where in the digital equity plan this connects to.
It
Does
Okay.
that
does,
sound reasonable?
Yeah,
it
yeah.
does, I do see page numbers on here.
Right,
Does-
if you look here at the first one, we talks about Wi-Fi access to the library and other public meetings, which is directly lifted from the
Yeah, and
report.
the page number is there, but
Okay.
I can paste it in if you think it's going to be more convenient, Anne Marie.
If there's any additional language, you know, with respects to if it ties into another recommendation in that digital equity plan, I think we should state that as well, whether it's the actual language or like you did here, some of it, but then put a page number if there are additional. that
Yeah,
this would
so
tie
this is
into.
so the blue text is cut and pasted.
Yep,
And then there's an additional 1 or 2 paragraphs that's in the plan that's referenced by the page number, and I can
Okay.
paste that in if you'd like.
that's
see there-
fine. No, if it's, yeah,
And here's more of it here.
right.
We were
Right.
right. So the thing is that the report that we got from the Cape Cod Commission was a little vague, and this is why I suspect the select board said, okay, give us a more of a play-by-play is exactly what it is we should be doing. So, and this was really Jed's suggestion to put we put them in. I don't know if there's much more in the Cape Cod Commission plan, because again, it was very generalized.
Right, right. So I don't know, Anne Marie,
Right,
what's
right.
your preference here?
But I actually didn't see that lower part, so, on
Oh,
my,
So
my
I-
copy. So now that I see it, yes,
Okay, you can see it's
Perfect.
here
Okay,
Yeah.
Right,
and,
right.
and here.
that was it was on the second page and I didn't get that.
Right.
So I'm
Okay,
sorry, I
got it.
apologize. So yeah, no, this looks great. And I would make the recommendation when, because there'll be another reading about the charge, because the committee hasn't had an opportunity to review the recommended language. That perhaps we should make a formal recommendation with this information to the select board at that time.
well,
Okay.
that wasn't that the point? I mean,
Yes, no,
Well,
I,
you
you
know-
know, I think to submit this to select board is excellent, but also to make a formal recommendation to the full board. Right? Just sending this to the board isn't a formal recommendation. It's a recommendation as requested, but I think when we review the charge and make the recommendation for the charge, that we follow up, because this was requested, to formally announce and
Okay.
make this recommendation to the full board in a public meeting.
Formatting
this-
question, would that request properly appear at the top of this page? Or would it appear in some separate document?
No, so
Well,
this
like-
so my recommendation is I would make the recommendation to select board to have this as an agenda item. And then the
Yes.
committee would, in a public session, open meeting, would make these recommendations.
Okay.
So that the full
need-
committee can deliberate on it and ask it any additional questions to the SciTech committee. And then at that point, if we vote on adopting these recommendations, then that changes the scope for the town administrator, then directs the town administrator to do what's necessary to accomplish those recommendations.
Okay, Brian has his hand up. Recognize Brian.
So I have a question. I like the idea of making a formal recommendation for the assistance of the select board. Should we just, and to, because citations are good and all that, maybe just, should we attach the exact page as it's written from the Cape Cod Commission's report to make it easier to view, where these were lifted from? Like, what kind of, we do to help?
So, yeah,
convey?
so if everything comes off of like, yeah, I mean, if you want to, everybody has, like, the select board has the full digital equity plan
Yeah,
on our laptop, so they
So
should
it
be
should-
referencing it and
should be
sourcing it
simple for them
when
to
this
do
is
that,
being
yeah.
presented. So, but for the general public, because then obviously this is attached to the agenda packet. So that might be helpful, Brian, to have those specific pages as part of the packet that would go out when this becomes an agenda item for the
Right, so
public, right, to have access.
let me make
So-
an intermediate proposal here. There is a section of the digital equity plan that's just called recommendations. And it includes I think it's 2 or 3 pages long. So let me make this proposal then, that we would as an addendum to this recommendation, we would have that reference text. Right?
Oh,
Yeah, we can do it that way, because
Yeah.
this is focused, right? This is
Correct,
focused,
right.
so, yeah,
Yeah.
we can, yeah, that might be a better pathway, because, I mean, we can also attach the whole digital equity plan in the agenda packet if we so choose.
It's already
But it's
been-
a lengthy,
It's a lengthy
right?
document,
So
yeah.
it's a
They
lengthy
already have
document,
it.
and we're gonna lose people
Mhm.
if we, do the whole
Totally.
document. So I
yeah.
think honing in on specifically what the focus is would better serve the public.
Right.
I
So
agree with you, Anne Marie, since there's a lot
Now,
of text and
well-
focusing people's good.
yeah, I guess what I can do to make sure things don't get lost, I'll just make it an addendum to this particular document,
Mhm.
Yes.
right? And so that way, as this document gets passed around, the reference doesn't get lost.
Exactly. I think that's the way to do it.
Okay.
Anne Marie, can I request, for whatever reason, I only have the copy of the final digital equity plan that was in the packet. And I'm not good at manipulating, cutting stuff in and out of PDFs. Could I ask you to send the discrete, final digital
Sure.
equity plan itself, send it to, me, and I'll distribute it to the committee so we have it.
Sure.
I think I have a copy already.
Okay, I have the draft. For whatever reason, I don't have the original, and
Ah.
I've got the one that's was embedded in the packet a month ago when it was discussed by the full select board.
Yeah, I got it
That-
off the MBI website.
And how reliable is that? Okay.
Oh, it's the one.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
The one. It's
Absolutely.
the
Yeah, if you
one.
go to the website and just click on the map, you'll get it.
Okay, great.
You may
So-
even
so-
find it on the Town of Bourne website.
Okay, so what you're going to attach to this are not like page 44 and page 48, but the page that says general recommendations for implementation. Is that what I'm understanding?
Where is it? I'm gonna find it right now.
Yeah, what page is that?
I think it starts on 44, 43 or 44.
Well, it looks
Uh,
like 44 because that's what you
I think
what
it's- okay.
what you reference in your document.
Yeah, I think it is.
Okay.
Yeah, I grabbed the wrong one. Yeah, I don't have it in front of me this second here. I grabbed the wrong one. I was trying to find the.
Good one. So,
But anyway, yeah, I think it starts on 44 and it goes for like 3 or 4 pages.
It must go at least that because you got a page 48 is also referenced in here.
That would be the last one for sure.
Yeah, okay.
I don't have it in front of me, but there's a table about there that has all of these things summarized with a recommendation and who should do what, a bit, whose responsibilities it is. So,
So should we attach that?
I think really getting way too far into it. I mean,
yeah. Just the text, I think is the most important for these
I'm afraid
sections.
that
Yeah,
table we're just gonna take people off into a pretty wide direction, you know what I mean? We're gonna go pretty far afield.
Okay.
yeah, okay. Okay, so the informal recommendation is to attach the relevant pages of text in the recommendation section
right.
to this document. Okay, I will entertain a motion that the chair should send, should one say that we have approved this version of recommendations, and the motion should also state that the chair should send a request to the select board to, one, review this, and two, put it on the agenda for discussion, well, their agenda for discussion. Is that all that's needed in a motion here right now from us, do you think, Anne Marie?
Yes. Yeah,
Okay.
the motion should be to forward the recommended digital equity plan. The motion is to forward to the select board the recommendations from a digital equity plan. In your email, Bob, you can request, if you send it to, MJ and
All select-
Marlene, or all select board, ask it for an agenda item. At that point, doesn't have to be in the motion.
Okay. Okay, will somebody make that motion? Since I
So
can't.
moved.
Okay, do I hear a
Second.
second?
Second.
Okay, John seconds. And do we have any further discussion on that motion? Okay, we're gonna go around. Once again, John,
Aye.
Wendy,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
Jed,
Aye.
and the chair is aye also. Okay. Very good. Thank you, John and Jed, for a very nice job on that.
Mhm.
Let me get back to our agenda here.
Can you, John, can you guys send me your final copy?
Yeah, I'll
And,
send it to the whole committee.
Okay, and the attachment,
Okay.
so I can
Uh,
It's gonna
stick
do
that
that,
in.
right?
Attachment.
Yeah, the attachment of the recommendation.
The text from the
transition.
recommendations.
Yeah, I'm doing it in the same document.
Okay,
Yep.
goodo.
I don't know. And Jed, when you have was there any difference really? But all I have also is the draft plan. I went looking, and I don't have the actual.
Yeah, you have to go, right, I got the actual plan off of the MBI website.
Okay.
Let me just shoot everybody a link to that. So that's what I'll do there.
Great. Okay, moving forward. The next item is American Connection Corps intern. I have not done anything about that. I note from an article in the Enterprise that the county government basically they approved the budget to house and to supervise these folks, and they are coming in the next couple of weeks. And after they get settled, I have on my calendar a note to contact the woman who administers this whole process. But I'm not going to do that right now because I know that's doing something like this is kind of chaotic for as I get everybody kicked off. Okay, any other discussion on that? Again, the idea is that we want to talk to that person about housing a Connection Corps person for with AmeriCorps for the following year, for 2025 into 26, because we've missed it for 2024.
Do we have a name for that person, or a position name or something?
I do not have it handy. I have it in a notebook someplace.
Okay, but he or she is the coordinator for volunteers or something like that.
She administers, I think they have 20 AmeriCorps volunteers that they bring in, house, and connect with various town and county departments to assist in various projects. And she's the one who herds the cats, so to speak. Find some individual mentors, supervisors on the individual projects. And since those many of those don't last for a full year, she moves them around from one project to another
Okay.
once they get going, and they're all housed.
I just kind of wanted to know how to characterize this in my notes here. Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. The place logically where the Connection Corps person would sit, so to speak, would be with the AmeriCorps people. And the ideal organization to manage that would be Barnstable County, as they have done in the past. Okay. Next, liaison with the Cape Cod.
I have one more piece to that. So I've reached out to MBI to see who their lead is on this program, since they're funding the cost of this. They've given us the name of the lead who's currently on vacation. So the one question for this year might be, and I might need a little help phrasing it, is if MBI will host the person for the Cape for 2024, since we were not in a position to be setting up housing and a mentor and all that until 2025. Is that something, if MBI will handle all that logistics? How would that work, and what's the ask?
Another question, Brian, if you're in communication with that person, is where did the American Connection Corps people assigned to Massachusetts, where were they assigned around the state? That would give us an idea of what kind of a structure, were they in county governments? Were they in individual towns or cities? To see, again, who were the hosts, who were the mentors? Were they at all housed or supervised outside of the AmeriCorps structure? So that gives us other opportunities, maybe, or go-bys or models to house a person in a future year.
Okay, so the questions are really like three questions. Where did they get assigned? How are they being housed?
Mm-hmm.
And can they handle the logistics for 2024? And actually, the fourth question is just to inform them this is leading up to the Cape having a plan for 2025.
Perfect. Okay, thank you, sir. Okay, moving on to the Tech Council. Brian, I'll leave this to you. They have been holding kind of weekly sessions during the challenge and a little bit less frequently during the rebuttal period. But basically, it was just to exchange ideas. And frankly, a good number of those, the information was coming from Brian. So it was all outward to them as kind of general information. Anything to add to that, Brian?
Not really. There's a lot of will to do more on the Cape, and there's a lot of people willing to help, push MBI, find technical solutions. There's a lot of people without a lot of direction right now what to do, because the way the bead challenge happened, it kind of really, it never really. They don't think they're anticipating how towns were going to participate. So, not a lot of new info from the Tech Council on this at this time.
Okay. Still worth staying in touch with them, correct?
Is there some
Absolutely.
Is there some hope that these useful impulses can be focused somehow into a program or a goal or a useful result?
Yeah, I think so. So the MBI sets the rules, and the way we get a seat at the table with MBI for Bourne is by collecting these concerns and delivering them to MBI. They're more willing to listen if we have our ears open to the whole Cape and kind of act as a buffer for them. So there's a lot of value in gathering these frustrations and summarizing them onto MBI.
Okay.
Yeah, the same applies to the next agenda item, actually, the Mass Broadband Coalition, because Brian has collected some of the parallel complaints from a number of other towns who participate in that, and then forwarded those to MBI. Are we done with Tech Council right now? Because this will segue right into the Broadband Coalition. Anything further specific on Tech Council? Okay, moving forward to item 4E, the Broadband Coalition. There's been a lot more activity to essentially complain about the whole process that's come from other towns. Mayor Mitchell in New Bedford has been very vocal. and has pursued this with Senator Markey. There's a small group of South Coast towns that are participating in here. Professor David Coles, who leads the effort from Westport, has been pretty vocal about complaining about this. Again, into the ear of MBI, but not necessarily getting any kind of a very specific response. So I don't know where, what influence the Broadband Coalition will have on this, although they are pushing, and I think they may be putting together something like a lessons learned document that can be used to send to MBI, send to the delegations, et cetera, to say, if any more money comes, let's not do it this way again. That's the basic lesson learned. Find a better way, shall we say, and listing many, many areas needing improvement. But I don't know where that is going. Okay, that's all I have to say about the Broadband Coalition. Bob Espandola, the former select board chair for Fairhaven, has been relatively inactive and hasn't pushed much right now. But I have not tracked. Brian, have you seen indications of when their next meeting is? I have not seen anything from them.
They've been having Zoom issues. That I was on one like a week ago, and I got my ears open for whatever the next one is.
Okay. Again, I heard a discussion that there was going to be some denouement, if you will, of after the whole process unravels, to say, gee, if any more money comes down the road on broadband to fill in the gaps that BEAD, et cetera, don't do, make recommendations to do this a better way than at least what MBI did, and maybe some of the things that NTIA did, kind of changing their own rules in midstream, et cetera. With that,
I'm sorry,
Go
just
ahead.
a quickie. Do you suppose it'd be useful to at least prompt MBI to create their own after action report timely? Or do you think they may lack the introspection necessary?
Well, that, and also just frankly, if they've got to start dealing with grants coming out of BEAD and issuing requests for proposals, et cetera, they don't have the staffing. They really, both in terms of technical ability and just time, in terms of the people who are on the staff, and they don't utilize their contractors who have a lot of these capabilities. They don't utilize them nearly to the extent that the contractors could actually do a bunch of this work. So that's at least compared to what
I flat out told MBI that they need to plan to have an army of consultants for any future endeavor, because they've burned the goodwill of most towns in Massachusetts. So if they want to do any other rollouts, they're going to need to have an army of consultants to do the work, since no one's going to lift a finger to help them after this.
Yeah, as it's done in most of the other states, the consultants did all of the challenge work. The consultants did all the on the ground work, paid for by the state agency, but not here. Anyway, the one other likely outcome of this is that the number of challenged and funding available, or funding eligible sites, is probably going to be relatively small on a percentage basis compared with others. And MBI has said flat out that they intend to have a hollow log filled with a lot of leftover money that they're going to dole out for digital equity and other projects after BEAD gets done. So clearly that's an area where an improved process would be needed, and it'd be nice to set that up before they start running with it and get it tested, as opposed to just hit the ground and say you have a week to come up with a proposal for this. Anyway, we'll get to that. I have a discussion about that specific issue in our charge later on, further down. The next thing I have on the agenda is a liaison with other towns.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
so a
turn this
couple
over to-
things from my end. I sent out an article from the Times about what's going on in Wellfleet. And we talked about that the last meeting, and I think that article just kind of summarizes what we already knew. And Truro, they're meeting tomorrow, and it looks like the select board is going to modify the charge in Truro, but I can't tell where that's headed. I know that looking at the agenda from some of the previous meetings, there's a lot of concern about cell coverage in town, more than anything else. Although maybe they've just given up trying to improve internet access because it's pretty dismal there also.
One thing to note on that vein, MBI lets slip that one of their future plans is a cell coverage program. And so they were feeling me out whether we had issues with that. And I said, oh God, yeah, we've in certain locations, it's hard to get coverage for sure.
Yeah.
So
Well,
it might be.
For meeting the meeting minutes from some of the other towns, as bad as it is in Bourne, it's worse further down Cape.
Mm.
All
Well,
right.
not only down Cape. I was working at a family member property in Sandwich Olive yesterday, and it was it was right by Route 6, and there was absolutely no cell coverage at all.
All right, yeah. So yeah, so that there seems to be a real dearth of infrastructure in Truro, and so anyway, they're going to revisit their charter apparently, and I'm not no indication though as to where they're headed with that. And then in Falmouth, they met yesterday. The agenda was pretty high level. They're basically still waiting for the CTC report. They have no line of sight to funding. They're starting their digital equity planning process. They did initiate that, so that's going on. I think they're in the interview phase right now with that. And they are going to meet with New England Broadband. That's the reformation of Boundless, which was the spinoff of Tilson. So that they're still talking to them. So, but it seems that anything concrete is on hold until they finish the CTC report that FalmouthNet is funding is completed. The last I heard on that was a few weeks ago. They were still waiting to talk to Whip City Fiber. It's possible that's happened by now, but I haven't seen anything stated publicly.
Okay. Yeah, I think we ought to add that as an agenda item when it does come out, that we review and discuss it with regard to implications for Bourne.
Of course, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's nothing. I mean, FalmouthNet has just stated that they're doing it. There's been nothing stated publicly on their website at this point.
Yeah, my inference is that New England Broadband and who knows, Bonfire, some of the other companies, once they see what areas and what funding is available under BEAD, are going to be talking certainly back to Falmouth. They'll probably be back to us. In fact, during one side conversation, one of the people from who were formerly with Boundless said that depending on how the funding shakes out, they definitely wanted to talk to Bourne. So we may get letters asking for our requests for letters of support again from not only the usual providers, but from other companies too, that we're going to have to consider on quick turnaround. Anyway, nothing else on towns? Anybody have any question on towns? Okay. The next item on the agenda, and the last one, is the discussion of our charge and revisions to the charge. Everyone saw the draft that Wendy circulated, that I circulated. Wendy did the bulk of the work on that. Okay. I'm trying to pull it up here. Again, I'm not in a position where I can put stuff up on screen. Wendy, do you want to put the revision up on screen and we can talk about that?
I can find that for you. Stand by. Okay, this is the last one that we had. Let me just go away. Go away. All right. Now, let's see if I can make this show share screen. Where is share screen again? Share. There we go. Come on, open up. What do you think? Got it?
Hang on.
Are you seeing that?
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay. Is this the one you meant?
Yes, that's it.
Okay.
And I've got, I'm doing this on two screens here. I also sent out the original, the one that MJ had circulated in
Mhm.
July, and July 16th. The big areas for change here are reinsertion of or insertion of item 2. And Anne Marie, we need your guidance, ask for your guidance first on this one too. Provide liaison between the town. See, between the town and providers as necessary to carry out the several provisions of this charge. And specifically, the select board may nominate an ex officio member to oversee any SciTech interactions with potential or current providers. This is in specific about past and expected future short contacts from folks like New England Broadband, or calls from Mike Galla from Comcast, asking for just preliminary inquiries about submitting stuff to the select board. And this just gives our committee the authority to talk to these people, as opposed to having to, with the proviso that they know that we are only advisors to the select board, and the select board makes all decisions here. Do you see, is that wording, do you think that's going to be acceptable to the rest of the select board? Anne Marie, you were in the discussions with them about this.
Right, well, we can do that at any point in time. So if as we're advising the select board can do this at any point in time with any committee. So I don't believe it has to be in the charge.
I
And
think we
then
put,
because we have contracts if we have contracts with any of these providers, then any interactions have to appear before the select board before, in a letter form, etc. That's just simply the way the process has to go. We can't just appoint someone as an ex officio acting for the town. If most of the time, because we have contracts with these entities, the select board has to negotiate or interact with these entities, or the town administrator.
mhm.
So I'm
So
not
that-
sure that we can nominate an ex officio representing
Oh.
the town in these particular entities that we have contracts in.
Well, I think that's the reason we chose this wording was it says the select board may, doesn't have to. Somebody
Right.
somebody to oversee what we do, because there was obviously a lot of concern about us going out there without supervision from the select board. And so that we put this in so the select board can say, we might just want to nominate somebody to keep an eye on you guys.
Which would
And
be
that's-
you, realistically, or your
which would be
successor.
you. And so
Yeah.
that's why we put that there. And this used to be at the very end, but we put it up at the top to allay concerns.
Right, but we can do that at any point in time
I
with
understand
any
that.
committee.
I understand
So-
that. But,
Yeah, so I don't
but-
think it has to be codified in the charge, because it does, we don't need a charge for that. That's at the discretion of the select board. If something comes up in the event we need to do it, we would simply do it.
Well,
Yeah.
fine by me. We just thought it would be a good idea to put it in writing so they would know that we know that. But we can just,
Yep.
make that.
Yeah, one example, for instance, and this had started to gel in the past is I can't remember the person's name from Boundless was talking about, well, gee, if we were to come into Bourne, would it be the same kinds of things that we would ask the town of Falmouth, to come in because we have to place a pole, or come in because we want to put a wire house cabinet on town land. And who do we start to talk to? And I said, well, at that point, I said, I'd like to have somebody from the town on a call with you to just talk about that very generally before an individual request goes to the select board. And the person said, okay, fine, we'll be back to you. And then the Boundless proposal fell apart. So I can envision a lot of those coming through from not just from the two providers or three providers that we have contracts with, but from all kinds of other people that come out of the woodwork chasing the BEAD money.
Right, but they have to go directly to the town. They would have to go through the town administrator and then get it to the select board. They shouldn't be going through any particular committee.
Well, I
Okay.
understand that, but they may just say, oh, well, these guys have been pretty active. Maybe we ought to call them and see who we ought to talk to. So that we might very well be their first point of contact. But of course we would refer them on.
And if you are, that's fine. If they call you and say, how do I
Yes.
do this? Then you're not an ex officio. Your
Right.
response should be contact the town administrator.
Got
Mhm.
that.
Yeah, but that doesn't have to be in here. That's just, that's like public correspondence almost, where someone's reaching out to the SciTech and saying,
Okay.
what's the process? And then your response should be, well,
Call these
call
people.
the town administrator.
Yeah.
And then in that, obviously when, you put it at agenda item as a SciTech committee agenda item, making myself as the liaison aware of it, then there can be follow-up, right?
Hmm.
But yeah,
Okay. So
because
moving-
you can't act on behalf of the town. You can only act to advise the town, right? Which
Yeah.
is the select
Exactly.
board, advise
we
the select
understand
board.
that.
Yeah. But at any point in time, if we're finding as a select board, because this information is coming in and saying, okay, then, we're gonna tell whoever, Jed, John,
Mhm.
be the point person.
Hmm.
Okay. So,
But we can do that, and it doesn't have to be codified. We can do that as is needed.
okay. So I've
That's the discretion of the board.
okay. So I struck that. Is
Okay.
superfluous. Okay. Now what?
Now the
So-
next is, go ahead, Emery, you have a question.
No, go ahead, Bob. Go
Okay,
ahead.
I was going to move down to the next item. It was the formerly item 3. It goes back to item 2 again.
Right.
Instead of oversee, the change to recommend.
Yep.
Yep, that's just
Yep.
fine. And
Okay.
A and B underneath that stay pretty much the same.
Right.
What we would like to add is an item C, which is, and when you use the word promulgate, we can come up with something else, is facilitate performance test as needed to qualify for further grant funding. Again, a lot of what we've done, at least Brian, me, and others, is handhold a lot of residents who are trying to do the speed tests and get through the stupid filings that were going there, or frankly, go to some of these CAIs to determine whether they had internet, whether they had high-speed internet, etc., before we nominated them as a CAI.
Mhm.
So-
Again, go ahead.
So so the committee would promulgate performance tests as needed to qualify for further grant funding. I'm not sure. This one confused me a little bit. if you have to maintain accurate records of poorly served areas in Bourne, wouldn't that fall under that?
Well,
In
we're
A?
developing, yeah,
Oh.
a-
These are all of a
a-
piece. These are all related. Maintaining
yeah,
records, gathering information, monitoring the literature, getting
Right, but how you maintain the record, the accurate records, wouldn't you be
or
perform
how about maintain
promulgating
and
performance tests? I'm that's why I'm like, maybe
whether
promulgate's
this
not
is
the right word at what you're getting at in this.
how about just facilitate any additional performance testing?
as needed.
That could be, you know, another campaign on Bourne residents' Facebook page for people to do another round
Okay,
of
Or
testing.
whatever, yeah.
Just
okay, so that
uh,
would be so that would fall under, like, surveying subscribers, right? Is that what you're getting at in this one?
well, surveying subscribers and helping them if they need to, how to do additional performance tests. I can
Yeah,
envision
okay.
that yeah,
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so, but
I'm
the
not, I
rest
don't
of
know
it,
if promulgate, I'm just trying to
well,
figure out
we
what
changed
the
it to
wording should be.
facilitate.
I-
I
yeah.
suggested facilitate. I think you know, help make it happen is what facilitate means.
okay.
Right,
And
right.
it says as needed to qualify for further grant funding. Okay, because the grant funding usually wants that kind of specificity
Right,
in any applications. That's why I put that like that.
right, but this particular testing doesn't solely qualify us for further grant funding, but it helps
That's true.
to uh I'm trying to think of a wording between to and qualify. Those performance tests as needing to
For example,
strengthen um to strengthen Again,
How
I
about
think
that?
Wendy
about
just
that for a
put in
minute.
Wendy
I
just put
just
in the words for example there, as needed to, comma, for example, qualify for further grant funding. So
okay.
yeah, so that it's not exclusively for grant funding, but basically it's filling data gaps that somebody needs to improve the service. You know,
Right, but it strengthens the need for the qualification for grant funding, correct?
exactly.
Right. Okay.
okay, so is that,
So yeah,
are we good with that
yeah,
one?
I think we, okay.
Okay, and we have an insert here in D, and you can read it first. Advise the select board or designees regarding opportunities for fiber to the home. To some extent, you know, after rereading that, it seems to be a little redundant with what is kind of up at the top at the header for this section.
Yeah, that's what I thought too, Bob.
Yeah,
So,
just rereading it.
yeah.
Wendy,
So
your thoughts. Wendy was the lead author on this revision app, you know, based on our discussions that you missed the last time.
yeah, I'm
And
sorry.
no,
Little
you
quick
can't
flip
be
of
everywhere all the
schedule,
time.
which caught me off guard.
Yeah. Okay.
So what, if you can explain a little bit then, so I have a better understanding. What I didn't get, so advise the select board or designee. What did you mean by designee? Like,
Well, because the
I'm
select
the
board,
liaison to the select
right.
board.
Right, so the select board might want us to come to them directly, or they may be perfectly happy with whatever you tell them. That's why I wrote that.
Or they may say
Or they may say,
ask us to
talk to
go
the
talk.
town administrator, or talk to the somebody else. They may just tell us to do that. That's why
Right.
that
And
doesn't-
again, we can, based on your recommendations, we can tell you to do that anytime we want.
yeah,
So
they can tell us
Okay.
where to
Yeah.
go. Yes, got it.
and I, like I said, like Bob said, I think there's a redundancy with the number 2 above, that to extend
Yeah.
high-speed internet to all residents residents, because you're advising us already on that. What I can't do is act independently on behalf of the board, right? So that's where the
Right.
the word designee was a concern for me, Wendy.
Well, it's,
So I
it's,
can't act independently of the board.
but that's
So,
why, that's why it's advised. It doesn't say, get permission from. It says
well, I
advise.
give updates to the board. Every time we have
Yeah.
a meeting and we have our select board meeting, the committee updates, I do
Mhm.
that.
Okay, so you
So,
want to, does everybody just want to kill this? Because originally we had the strategy, cost analysis, and project planning, and there was apparently concern that we shouldn't be doing that. So that's
well,
why
you
we,
have to anyway, because sorry for interrupting, but I think that, is part of, because if we're making recommendations on like digital equity plan or the whole BEAD thing, I mean, or any other grant, the request in, for, B includes costs and
okay.
programming.
Mhm.
So looking back here, if we're scratching D, E, and F essentially from our
Yep.
original one.
Yep,
So all we have left is maintaining accurate records, gathering information about historical and current internet provider infrastructure and performance quality, which
Yep.
is, that's one way of looking
Which
at it
we've
for
been
speed
doing it.
Yep.
testing. Yeah. And then facilitating performance testing as needed to, for example, qualify for further grant funding. And that's all we have under recommending efforts to make things better for the town.
right, because I think in that effort and the recommendations, we would include programming and cost, right?
Mhm.
So if it's gonna be, if we want to sell it,
Mhm.
we're gonna have to sell it literally with as much detailed information and why it would be successful, including costs.
Oh,
Because
I-
everybody wants to know
yeah.
the bottom line. Everybody wants to
Oh,
know
I-
how much it's gonna cost.
Yeah,
Right.
I completely
So-
understand that, and I agree with you totally. But we were getting pretty specific vibes that they didn't want us to look at strategies, cost analysis, and project planning.
As it relates to digital equity and grants, yes.
But that's not what we're talking about. We're expending high-speed internet to all residents and businesses in town. Fiber to the home, broadband,
Right,
blah,
but
blah,
in
blah.
that recommendation, because it's still there, even from the original, that would include, right?
Yeah, I would.
Yeah.
Okay, so I
Okay.
think we're covered there.
So we're
And
so
I
we're
don't
done
think
with that.
myself or anybody on the select board would not want to know how much is this gonna cost.
Oh, yeah.
Mhm.
Well,
So
of course.
I think in the event you're making recommendations in efforts to extend high-speed internet, that's a key language there.
Yes.
What do those efforts look like? Right? Does it include town
Mhm.
funding? Does it include grant funding?
All sorts of
What's
things.
the bottom line? How much is it gonna cost?
Yep.
I think we're covered here.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. Just
But
if, before you go down further,
if not, and it's gonna be the same conversation, when this is presented, when the charge is presented, I'll have the same conversation, or whoever else is here from the committee, that conversation as well.
Yep. Okay.
okay, just a couple of quick comments on the deleted E and F. Make recommendations about going forward. I think what's going to be very illustrative to the our select board is what comes out of this comparison study in Falmouth, because that's looking at three major different approaches to do this. I know I've gotten vibes from both those companies that had submitted to Falmouth that any place they look, they're doing F. They're doing a detailed engineering design and cost estimate study of some sort. The Cape Cod Commission has a kind of a high level location of where every pole is in all of Barnstable County. So at least some information is available, and any company that's going to come in and make a proposal to serve Falmouth or serve Bourne is going to have done that already. And it's just a matter of when they decide to make that public and make that available to the town that they're trying to do business in. So that's
Right.
going to go on
Right.
regardless.
So we
Right.
wouldn't, we would be,
Right.
as a town, we wouldn't have to be doing that. It would be the vendors who would say, we've done this and this is our proposal.
And for
Absolutely.
instance,
Yeah, leave it
when
on
the,
them.
yeah, I think when the comparison study comes in, um, at the very least, we would probably like to chime in with opinions from this committee about that, and they're only opinions. They're not going to be recommendations, I don't think, at that point. And we'll listen to exactly what the discussion in Falmouth is going to be, because they're a lot further along in terms of entertaining. They've sent out requests for applications or proposals from several companies and gotten
Mhm.
several back. So, again, it's just following the lead and learning what we
Mhm.
can about best practices and
Mhm.
perhaps bad practices from prior
Mhm.
experience in other towns.
Mhm.
Right.
Okay,
Okay.
moving
Okay.
on.
Now moving forward to what is now, which is going to drop down to number
We'll,
3. And
we'll fix all the renumbering, you know.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's easy, but just so everybody can follow. What we added was a third bullet, and this relates to following up on other opportunities that may arise. They're going to be, as I said, MBI has said they're going to be giving out further grants for digital equity. And likely there'll be other opportunities where there's both public and private funding coming out for increased connectivity, at least. And I think we want to be able to have the ability to inform and advise the select board when these things pop up. And my guess is a good part of that is going to be under BEAD and other areas. The companies are going to come back and ask for letters of support like they did before.
Yep.
And companies we've never heard of before are going to ask for support. So we just want the ability to be able to do that. And within our charter is, we can, when we see these things, is to advise the board on what to do.
Yeah, we should
I
keep,
think it's an important one, Bob.
oh yeah, we
Yeah,
should be keeping
yeah.
our ear to the
As a
ground
committee.
for whatever comes along.
And not only that, with the only thing that, I mean, we don't need to get into the politics of other towns and their struggles, but I think as an abutter, especially to Falmouth and what's happening there, it's important to keep abreast of that. I don't want to get into the minutia of the politics of it, but the factual information as Jed presents, from other towns, because we are an abutter, I think we should be aware of what's happening with respects to their MLP and,
Sure.
the negotiations that are going on
Oh, yeah.
with
And the
a
tribe
Falmouth.
and Mashpee as well, because they some of their challenges crossed into Bourne. So
Mhm.
Falmouth, the tribe.
Right, we're in a butter.
Yeah,
We're in a
right,
butter.
yeah.
So yeah, there's some impact there.
The same will also go to Plymouth, and we haven't done any tracking of what
Yeah.
Plymouth has done, and I know they are they have been dealing with the Herring Pond Wampanoag tribe, who has a big footprint in the town of Plymouth. So whatever response to digital equity the state allows or requests proposals for regarding the Herring Pond Wampanoag is also going to affect Bourne. So that's the kind of thing that's that we think is going to pop up. Abutters are going to be a real opportunity for these companies if they can serve multiple towns from single locations. Like the North Falmouth Verizon Wirehouse is perfectly positioned to serve at least Bourne up as far as Barlow's Landing Road, which is where the
Awesome.
the phone,
Finney,
the 563 and 564 phone exchanges work from.
Sure.
Anyway, okay.
Should we add some language in here about collaborating with those other entities or abutters?
No, I don't think collaborate. Right now, we're not collaborating. Right now, it's just having an ear to the ground and having an understanding and keeping apprised the select board apprised of how that could possibly impact our town, because that's what's most important. Like,
well, that's
Falmouth's making decisions about Falmouth, but we are in a butter. Mashpee's making decisions about Mashpee, but we are a butter. Plymouth's making decisions about Plymouth, but we are a butters, and we should be aware, if at all there would be an impact, or opportunities, as it states here,
Sure.
with respect
Because-
to what's happening in the
because-
towns that abut us.
Because whatever vendors approach Falmouth, Mashpee, Sandwich, Plymouth, they will probably be interested in approaching us also.
They've
Because
already
Right,
said
and I
that,
don't
so-
disagree
It'd be
with
much
that.
more
And
cost
it's by-
effective to do something regionally rather
That's-
than town by
That's
town.
probably gonna happen, and
Yeah.
then at that point, you know, they'll have to come to the town, they'll have to come to select board if they have any intent whatsoever. Or make it look like perhaps there's an opportunity for Bourne. But I think
Okay.
having an ear to the ground is important.
Okay, so
With
Well,
these
the-
other towns.
any further changes on this section then?
No, just to be clear, the 3 or 4 agenda items above this one on today's agenda all have to do with information exchange with other
Mhm,
towns.
mhm,
Okay, so we're
Right,
gonna, and with,
right.
we'll continue to do
Right.
that.
Right,
Okay,
And this is the last one is just pro forma. We'll tell them what we're doing.
yeah.
Okay.
yes,
All right.
okay.
I will, do you want to get a copy with the strike throughs and all that stuff in it? Or do you want me to just make a clean copy of where we are? Or do you want both?
Well, what I'd like to do now, just because of the scheduling, if we go on a 2-week cycle on this, this is next going to be discussed on the September 10
Yes.
select board. Okay.
Yes.
We got it postponed the other night when it came up very quickly. But I would like to clean this up right now and vote to approve it and then submit it to the select board for discussion with our recommended
Okay.
changes. And I think the only thing that needs to be, Wendy, in terms of putting this in, the only changes or additions that need to go in is to take you know, the what was it, July 16th version, the one that's got draft all over it, and
Yeah.
that MJ sent us, and then put these new changes in red line on that,
Mhm,
and you
mhm.
know, obviously ignore everything else that the previous charge altogether. So these are the things, the items that
Yes.
we're adding,
Yes.
changing in this one, so they can see where we've made our selected changes. And
Okay. I'm not sure I completely understand what you mean. My question was, can I take this that we're looking at now and clean it up and take, fix the numbering and all that other crap? Or is there some other formatting or some other thing that we need to present to them? Because it seems to me that once we clean this up, then that's our charge for them to
I
discuss.
would, I would just, as Bob said, take Mary Jane's and leave that as is, but insert in blue or red the recommendations from this committee.
Okay, blue or red doesn't always come out, but I think I can put them in
Or
italics
whatever
or
color you
something.
choose, whatever
Yeah,
color you choose.
you know,
Just not
again,
black.
again, we're not
And italicized.
we're really not deleting much out of what MJ's version was. What we're doing is
No.
making additions, like
Right.
what would be
right.
item 2C, for instance, is one, and then you know, that's and then item 3C is the other one. So those are the
Yeah.
big changes. So those
Right.
should be in underline as an addition. I guess that's
Okay.
how it works.
Or something, yeah.
Yeah.
If you like the italicized version in a different color is fine. Then
Yeah.
we'll know that it's an addition or
Mhm.
change.
Now, my question is, not everybody sees the colors. And so I think I'm just gonna do italicized for additions or modifications. And then everybody
Okay.
can see what they are.
And
Okay.
Is that all
and
right?
maybe perhaps when you put them bolded, italicized.
Sure, I can do that. Or maybe just bolded would be enough. Okay.
Okay. So is everybody clear on the changes we've made? And it's kind of with the red line strikeout on this, it's a little difficult to follow, but
Mhm.
is everybody clear with those wording changes? Because I'd like somebody to make a motion to approve our suggested revisions to the or suggested changes to the July 16th revised charge that we received from the select board.
How do I shut this off? I have a question. I'm still a little confused about what our role would be in terms of if we hear that a possible vendor or ISP is approaching us with regard to providing service for the town, and not necessarily because we refer here specifically to fiber optic, but let's say it's something else. We don't know what it could be. Are we not to be involved with that? Because it's all we've struck all of that out, and I'm kind of concerned that our area of
says-
expertise might be ignored.
That does say, for example, but that's not limiting.
Uh,
So
If
so-
it said i.e., that means fiber directed to that. But if you say e.g., that means, for example, fiber service, you know,
So,
or do we not know that everybody
John,
does that?
yeah.
John, if you get approached by an outside entity who has an interest in what fiber optics, fiber to the home, let's say, for example, like a Whip City, okay? The response, first bring it to the committee and just say, I've been approached. I want this as an agenda item.
Mhm.
Let's have the conversation. And then let's advise the select board on, saying this entity has interest in our town. And then the select board would then either say, we're going to tell this committee to gain more data, knowledge on exactly what their intent is, or would then tell the TA to reach out and,
Right.
okay.
Great.
So
I'm
it is
just-
not to say that anyone that approaches someone on this committee, you can transfer it into an agenda item and have this committee, inquire on gathering that data and what specifically their intent is. I don't think this charge does not allow you to do that. I think it does. And then as a committee say, okay, this is something we should, send to the select board, advise them on to pursue. And then how that happens after that is how it happens after that, right?
I fully agree with that. So is there language in here that specifically says the select board, at its discretion will request that the CTAC investigate any offers made to the town regarding?
How about language
That's my
that
point
says, and
earlier.
how
Yeah.
about language that says, and other activities as requested by the select board, and leave it at that?
Yeah, that's
We
good.
can do that any point in time. It doesn't matter.
Well,
If you
I
bring
understand
something
that.
to our attention and we see that that's something that the select board needs to further investigate,
Mhm.
we can say, continue to investigate.
I
Right.
understand that, but I'm
Right.
thinking
With
in terms of
language.
somebody who is going to be reading this that has a question such as John just asked, we could just say, if we had that sort of catch-all language, that would take care of that.
Right, just say at the request of the select board shall, further investigate.
Other
under the
other
direction.
activities as requested by the select board, and that
Yeah,
would do it.
just that way we're sure that it's in there and it just says, oh yeah, okay, there's an issue here. We don't have the expertise. Let us ask our CTAC to investigate and report to us, and then we'll take it from there. That's
But that's my point earlier was saying, we can do that at any point in time.
well, I don't see that.
It
in
doesn't
writing.
matter. It doesn't have to be in this charge. We can do that with any committee, anything that's brought to our attention. If the select board decides that we want to further investigate, we can do that at any point in time.
I
Basically,
understand
but
that.
you're advising the select board to do that. If you're advising the select board to do that, then now it belongs in the hands of the select board to decide what to do next.
Absolutely, I understand that, Anne Marie, and I understand how that applies to every advisory committee in the town. The only reason I suggest putting this in here is for, as John was saying, somebody may have a question. Well, what about this? And this just would cover that.
It clarifies
But
it.
they
That's,
can
It
do that, they
clarifies
can
it.
do that anyway.
I
They can come
understand
to you
that, but
anyway. It doesn't
Emery,
have to be in the charge.
I'm
And
looking
the
at
other
this
thing
as,
too with the charge is, we can't, part of the problem with the last charge was it's too broad. So other activities is way too broad. The select board is not gonna like that.
as
Other
requested.
activity, they don't,
As
they
re-
won't
as
like that.
requested.
Other activities, it's just too broad. We've been trying to narrow the charge and get a focus so that we can in fact have these little successes and goals to accomplish, things relative to the digital equity plan and things relative to improving, service to the community.
I understand that.
So-
I was looking at this as a communications vehicle as well as a what's the word I'm looking for? A definitive definition of everything that we can do. I was just thinking that would communicate a little bit better to anybody that would happen to read it, not just the select board. But fine.
Yeah,
Okay. So
they're
are we
gonna
done?
do it anyway.
Yeah.
Honestly, I think they're gonna do it anyway. They're gonna see
Yeah,
we
they-
have a SciTech committee. They're going to reach out to SciTech, or they're
Well-
gonna reach out to some entity at town hall. I
Well,
think
I
they're
hope
gonna
they
do that
do.
anyway, regardless of whether that language is in here or not.
Well, I hope they do.
Okay, so we're not going to make that change.
I took it
Just
out.
for general principles, if we see something that's actionable by the town that comes before us and it hasn't been discussed with any town department, we're going to make that information available immediately to the select board. I'll do an all select
Yes.
board email out
Yeah.
and say,
Oh, sure.
if you need further advice from the SciTech, please feel free to
Correct.
reach out. Okay.
And I think, too, I think, maybe more frequent, perhaps, reports to the select board.
They get our minutes every 2 weeks.
well,
Yeah,
certainly. if it's
Wendy,
in-
do you know how
Yeah.
many minutes we get?
Yes, I do.
Yes, so it's not on the radar, honestly. If I'm gonna be fully transparent, the packets we get even for our Tuesday meetings is massive. So I'm reading them and I'm reporting things, but that's my responsibility. Select board members are not, I can't speak for them, but I'll ask if they're reading the minutes on a bi-weekly basis. I'm gonna guess they're not.
Well, we wouldn't want anybody to say that they don't know what we're doing because we do tell them.
No, I think it's great that you're sending the minutes,
Mm.
but I will tell you this. They're not read on a bi-weekly basis. It's just, that's the reason why we have liaisons and to give updates, committee updates at our select board meetings.
Well, good.
Okay.
Okay, did we get a move to accept as amended on this?
I have a quick question.
Another question.
Go ahead, Brian.
Would it be helpful to the select board if we gave like a 5-minute, just verbal explanation of where we're at on stuff, at every meeting, so that, in lieu of having to dive through, you have hundreds of minutes coming in, maybe like a 1-2 minute really synopsis of where we're at. Would that be helpful?
I think what the board should be, I think we should be asking for reporting out to the board more frequently, other than the 2 that we've had in the last year. I think it should be quarterly. I think because originally it was reporting out quarterly, correct?
Well, we asked for that and then they said, oh, we don't need to hear it that often.
I know, but I will
in small
keep it in
digestible
the
chunks be better?
forefront. I will do a better job of requesting an agenda item on a quarterly report by the committee.
I tell you what, can we discuss this further at the next meeting, just to discuss
Sure.
timing, format, et cetera,
Sure.
to be a lot more specific about that, but not have that, you know, that's the bottom line in our charge, and we can leave it at that until we come up with an agreement on more specific about you know, scope, extent, detail, timing, et cetera, of all of these. And in fact,
'Cause we do have
Jed,
that
if
as
you
well.
Jed, if you want to put that under, make that a, frankly, new business instead of old and ongoing business, you know, a new number 5 for the next agenda to say, discussion of timing of written and verbal reporting to the select board. Or not timing, but written and verbal reporting to the select board.
Yeah, we do have that here. It says quarterly or as requested, and if they want to request it more often, not a
Well,
problem.
what I
Yeah.
want to do is put on our next agenda, which is September 12. Does that look
Mhm.
right? I'm
Yep.
just doing the arithmetic in my
Yep.
head. Just make an item 5 new business, and item A is just discussion of reporting verbal and written to the select board.
Got it.
You know, there are a number of options here. We could maybe send once every month, send them just a 1-page bullet point summary of what we're discussing.
Those would be minutes.
No,
Yes,
no,
we could
No,
do
the
that.
minutes are kind of detailed, and you know they don't need
Yeah,
to
they
know
are.
the
I'm
improvement
just, I
details.
know. We can, you know, distill those down to simple bullet points.
right.
Too many notes.
Okay. Okay. So we have, I heard a motion to approve our suggested changes to the revised charge. Did I hear a second? Just to make sure it's on the records.
Second.
Okay. Any further discussion on this? Okay. With that, I'll go around the table and just ask for a vote on this. John,
I
Wendy,
Aye.
Jed,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and the chair votes aye. And I will transmit this to the select board as an email and ask, you know, this is ready for discussion at the September 10 select board meeting. And I'm also I'll send a separate email and request that transmits the final version of the digital equity plan implementation recommendations that Jed is going to clean up, and I will send that and ask for that to be put on as an agenda item at either that or a subsequent meeting.
Yep.
Okay. So I think we are done with this agenda. And Jed, if you want to go ahead and put up the new one.
It's basically the same agenda. I added item 5. I don't know if.
Yeah,
It's
you might
need
call
to
that
be-
new business. I would just call that new business. Okay.
Okay. I get it.
You know, just to keep and so that discuss becomes the item A underneath it, I
Got
guess.
it.
Yeah. Okay. Anybody have any other comments on that
We need
agenda?
to, yeah, are we gonna keep this one? I guess we're gonna continue. with that.
I would suggest delete that for now, because I will not have any new information by September 12th. Okay, these the new interns who are coming in kind of filter in over the course of September and get placed, both in terms of housing and in terms of their mentors or agencies during September. And I have heard that is a busy time. It's like moving into college. Okay, and again, the next meeting is going to be on the 12th, and our for everybody's information, on the 10th at the select board, there's at least going to be discussion of the charge and probably a discussion of the digital equity recommendations. So put that on your calendars too. Okay, with that, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Okay, so moved.
Wendy
Second.
moves, Jed seconds. Okay, around the table one more time. John,
Aye.
okay. Wendy,
Aye.
Jed,
Aye.
Brian,
Aye.
and Bob. Aye. Thank you all very much. Thank you, Anne Marie. Your guidance is always much appreciated here. Okay,
Thank you.
and we will see you on the 10th of September, and I'll copy you all on these emails. Okay,
Ditto.
thank you, folks.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Aye.
Aye.